Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars on a reasonably fair Florida Thursday morning. I think it's Thursday. The weather isn't bad. It's in the 70s. It's not terribly humid. It's obviously going to be hot as balls later, but for the moment, I'm in decent shape, and that's about all I could ask for. So we continue on through May, heading the only benefit I get from this time of year is that I can make sarcastic little snarky comments to people, like we're out working at the car lot, the detailers, when they're absolutely dripping at 2 in the afternoon. I will say, hey, well, thank God summer's almost over. Or, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. And I just am thankful they don't punch me, because that's what I'd want to do. But it does give me, frankly, the only little bit of joy that I get from dealing with weather like this. So, you just got to carry on. But what can I tell you about animals? Minimum. Haven't seen any. That's continuing. There was a rabbit this morning. It, ran across the road, but it didn't stop. Wasn't suicidal. So, our, dearth of lack of animals continues, and that's, that's just fine with me. So, I tell you what, I'm not entirely thrilled with this car, so I'm just gonna try and get this review over with. I know I always promise fast reviews, and I'm not gonna promise it this time. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna try, because frankly, I just want to. The New Yorker I wanted to do. I have a 73 New Yorker coming up, and it's an absolutely awesome car with a 440 and hideous styling, and I can't wait to do it, but it's being held up in the shop, and until it's done, I gotta find some other crap to move with, and this was one of them. This one came from Dave the Wholesaler. We haven't had one of his in a while, and I was kind of happy when he showed up with it yesterday, because I was looking around thinking, what can I do to sort of keep the ball rolling? I'm not seeing anything that really gets my blood pumping these days. I need to get out there and find some more cars to do. So until that happens, well, this thing pulled up, and it seemed like it's a pretty curious car. So what the hell? We're going to go with it. A quick report, I went to lunch with Ulf yesterday. If you remember Ulf the German, I reviewed his S-Class a while back. He's a very nice guy. Well, he's not actually that nice. He's intensely sarcastic. But he does have a sense of humor that many Germans don't. But yeah, we went out to, we ended up at Applebee's, because Ulf is kind of cheap. He's one of these senior coffee guys, the Bentley and the Rolex and the fancy clothes, and then he goes to 7-Eleven and makes sure he gets his 8-cent discount on a small coffee. So it's something I torture him about, and as a result, we ended up at Applebee's, and whatever it was that he ordered, I was able to have something of equal or lesser value, which I did. I ended up with a burger. Long story short, the starter that our special had was mozzarella sticks, and I'm sitting there eating with him. We're talking about all the shit that's going on, and right in front of me, he double dips. Directly in front of me, like it's not even a thing. He just puts this revolting, half-eaten mozzarella stick back in the communal cup of marinara sauce. And I mean, it was revolting, absolutely. I had to drop my mozzarella stick and sort of, God, lean back in my chair. I thought Germans were better than this. They're supposed to be persnickety and perfectionists, and maybe a Turk or something you'd have expected. The last thing I expected a German to do was to double dip. So honestly, he was attacked by that duck once, and I'm kind of now secretly hoping he's attacked by that duck again for sort of basically ruining whatever minimal joy I could get out of an Applebee's lunch. Otherwise, there really isn't much news, so we're just going to leap right into this car. And I can tell you, when I saw it, when Dave first pulled it up, I thought, there's a Fisker Karma. Well, it turned out to not be a Fisker. This is one of the Chinese re-releases. But Fisker immediately made me think of my new Fisker pruners, which I just got at Home Depot, which are fantastic. They're nice and sharp when they're new. They wear out after a while, particularly because I overstress them. But when you first get them, man, those things are like laser cutters. And I had a lot of fun over the weekend trimming up the yard. But that made me think of Topiary, which then made me think of that movie, what the hell, Johnny Scissorhands, whatever the hell it was, which made me think that the old ladies in that movie, which I last saw when I was like 20, would probably look very handsome to me now. And that made me think that I should just stop thinking and have more whiskey, which is exactly what I did. So, anyway, look, there I am. I'm rambling again, and we got to stop that. So I'm just going to get right onto it. More or less, look, this is a horrible car. I mean, it's an absolutely horrible car, and not just because it weighs more than a dump truck and has all of the crappy kilowatt-hour anxiety hipster shit, rangings, or whatever it is they all talk about with their, EV vehicles and dinosaur fuels and that crap, but because it's in a car that looks like this. I mean, the car, some people say the styling is controversial, and it is. I mean, I'm sure it is, but I do think it's absolutely gorgeous. And to have this setup with it, I mean, it's like the DeLorean of EVs. It's a visually stunning car motivated by a really, really disappointing drivetrain. And, taking it home just kind of really made me sad. I feel like I ended up with the hottest lady at the nightclub, only to discover that she's treasurer and spiritual leader of the local celibacy club. I mean, it's just mean-spirited. It's just awful. And I can't say I like it very much, so anyway, look, let's just get it over with. This car was the rebirth of the original Fisker Karma. And that was an ill-fated project by a famed designer named Henry Fisker to make a luxury EV that would take on Tesla, who he had been hired by Tesla at the time to do initial design work on the Model S. So I think he must have had an inkling of what was coming and thought he'd get on it. So he's a pretty interesting guy. He decided he wanted to be a car designer the day he saw Maserati Bora cruising down a Danish highway when he was a young kid. And, while most Danes go into the biggest national industries of cheese or pornography, Fisker seemed a bit more German. He excelled through school. He majored in automotive design, went to a pretty highfalutin car design school, and was immediately scooped up by BMW. And at BMW, he worked on something called the E1 electric concept car, probably another thing that sort of led towards this. He contributed to the X5, the SUV, which, I'm no fan of SUVs, but the X5 is a pretty handsome vehicle. And I think his claim to fame is he originated and perfected the design of the Z8, which became this limited production high-end roadster from BMW in the spirit of the old 507, an absolutely stunning car. And the Z8 has become sort of a rare, modern, top-tier collectible. Usually it takes more time for cars to become stratospherically valuable, but the Z8 managed to pull it off in just a few years, and I think because it's undeniably gorgeous, and I think that's part of what really launched Fisker's career. So he got headhunted and went over to Ford. He became design chief at Aston Martin. He finalized the V8 Vantage, which was the best-selling car for it. It may have been eclipsed today. I don't think so. I think it's still the best-selling car they ever made, and very handsome design, although there's some debate as to whether he came up with it or not. But he did that for a while. And then in 2005, he teamed up with another old comrade from BMW to make Fisker Coach Building, which was a very weird idea, where these two guys sort of set up a coach. I mean, nobody had done any coach buildings since like the 1950s, and that's where like a Fisher Body or, one of these old coach builders, they'd take a Rolls-Royce chassis and they'd put custom coach work on it and, sell it to some highfalutin people. And that's what these guys decided to do in 2005. And they did. So they took, there was an AMG GT, they took that body and put some fancy exterior stuff on it and sold it to people with lots of money. And they also used a BMW 645. I think they rebodied those. They made like 25 of them. And, none of it really worked out. I mean, Fisker seems to have a lot of, it kind of goes at it for a while and then it, bails out and moves on to something else. And that's, again, what happened. So in 2007, he got into the EV gravy train, which, of course, was going on at the time, and formed Fisker Automotive, eventually receiving like $1.2 billion worth of private and mostly government taxpayer money to build electric cars basically for Hollywood celebrities that would be made in an old Saab factory in Finland. And after a few years of that, some lackluster production, like 2,500 cars or so, some disasters involving fires, supply problems, quality problems, all kinds of problems. The whole thing, well, he bailed out. He bailed out before it died, but right after he bailed, the whole thing went up in smoke like a wet karma filled with tax dollars. It was very sad. And the remnants of that company were bought by a company, and forgive me, my Chinese production is shit, but I'm going to try, Wangxiang. I think that's how you say it. But they're a Chinese auto parts giant. They bought the remains of Fisker and the remains of the battery company that Fisker used, and decided that they were going to rebirth these cars, which it took them a while to do. But they would, and they moved production to California and would ultimately start building the cars again and sell them, to Hollywood celebrities and maybe the odd wealthy Asian software engineer looking to score a date. God, this is just all so gross. So look, let's just get into it. But this Revero, like the original Fisker Karma, is a series hybrid as opposed to the more common parallel hybrids like the Toyota Prius. A parallel hybrid, they blend their gas and electric power through some complex and weird transmissions, and they both drive the wheels. So they use gas and electricity. Not so with a series hybrid like this. It uses its gas engine just to generate electricity, and everything goes through the generator to the rear wheels. It works a bit like a diesel locomotive, the same kind of principle, and they are more rare than the other types of hybrids. And of course, a lot of these cars in this price point, your Teslas and well, maybe it's, I don't know, things seem to be going towards all electric, so hybrids are maybe getting a little bit weird. Porsche, of course, still does do a hybrid, but I think we're finding out that the future, oh God, I hate saying that, is moving towards electric cars, which is great to have a car that runs on, coal running around, and, you have little kids mining lithium in foreign countries and, choking up blood. So it's great that we've got that going. How revolting. I mean, honestly, where the hell is an LS9 when you need one? And that's my biggest issue, again, with this car, is you take something that looks like this, you want it to have 700 horsepower and twin supercharged V8s under the hood, and instead you've got this meager, uninspiring drivetrain that just barely motivates this horrifically heavy car down the road in a way that feels like anything approaching normal. So I tell you what, I'm going to pause for a minute there. I'm going to have another shot of whiskey to make this more palatable, and then I'm going to keep going. We're going to start with the exterior styling, and with any luck, this is going to be a shorter video, so bear with me one moment. Alright, we're back. So look, let's have a quick look at the exterior styling on this car, which may be the only feature of it that I kind of like. And even then, there's some stuff on it that's problematic. But to me, it's gorgeous. I mean, it is. I'm not often a fan of modern designs, but I do like designs that are unique, distinctive, different, that stand out, and unquestionably, this one does. I mean, man, it gets looks like nothing else that I've driven in a long time. You go down the road and people just kind of stop in their tracks and, wonder what the hell they're looking at. And it's all very, very, very cool. The swoops, the curves, the incredibly low and rounded greenhouse, the doors that come down from the fenders and move up again into these crazy haunches at the back. It's like something that missed being incredibly unattractive by a fraction of an inch and instead became very beautiful, like Uma Thurman or something. Some people don't like it, but I do. I think it looks really cool. I particularly like the way the pipes come out the front fenders there at the bottom, like a World War II fighter or something. And, again, if that was a 700 horsepower pipe, it would be awesome, but it's not. It's the Ecotech pipe, but we'll get into that. You've got all the flush glass, you've got some chrome around the windows, you've got little teeny chrome weird door handles that are flush it in for aerodynamics, which are of course important to these EV things, and sort of interesting looking LED tail lamps, odd design on the bumper going into a diffuser sort of thing at the bottom. You've got caps on both sides, of course, there and over here, one for a desk and one for your plug-in part. You got the strange Karma logo, which just looks odd to me, like something you would have won at a flea market. Up top, you've got that, I can't remember how you say it exactly. It's like photovoltaic or something, basically a sun panel, one of these panels that generates electricity, which is absolutely useless in terms of what it does for the car, and I think it's there more for show than anything else, to let your celebrity friends know that you've got something that's basically electric. Up front, the styling gets a bit weirder. My friend Al, he thinks it looks like a Corvette with a cleft palate, and I can't disagree with him. I think it looks a little bit like oh God, what the hell was that guy's name? Snidely Whiplash. You got from the old Dudley Do-Right cartoons, where the guy with the little curly mustache would tie a woman to the railroad tracks, and I think that's what it's got. But it doesn't look terrible overall. And to me, the grill is the worst part of it. But the car itself, I think, has a tremendous impact and does look pretty cool. You see, it's got the 22-inch wheels that are absolutely enormous. It's got these big Brembo manhole covers behind it to pull the car down to a stop. Everything's flush. Everything's obscenely muscular. You've got the smushed down greenhouse, the big wide mirrors. Again, I just think it's a very, very impactful design, which is actually quite cool. So, tell you what, let's start inside the trunk and see what we got. The key for this thing is bizarre. It looks like one of those old marijuana dugouts that you flipped the lid over and put your weed in and smoked, and then closed up, but I can attest that it doesn't work that way. Alright, so there's the trunk. As you can see, it's got absolutely crap luggage room, although it's fine for a toddler or two. You get them in there. But otherwise, forget it. I mean, I don't even know you get a suitcase in there, which seems odd for a big sedan, which kind of the thing is kind of big. There's the charger. You see it doesn't have any big electronic charging box in line from the plug to the plug-in the car. And that's because the charger is inboard, which I guess helps it be bigger and more powerful and move faster. So this is a 110, takes about 10 hours to charge. It gets faster, like 3.5 hours or so with the 220. And then one of those supercharger things, they have 480 volts. It'll charge in like half an hour while you're sitting there wondering what the hell you're doing. Other people are gassing up and moving on. There's a little panel here you get under, and you got no room underneath that at all. There's no reason even for a panel other than it's hiding an air pump and a front license plate that nobody installed. So, what can you say? It's a trunk, enough to, go to Whole Foods and buy some organic tomatoes. Have a look under the hood. This is always hard to find. Oh, God, under here. There it is. All right, it's a reverse opening hood, Corvette style. Because this is from Dave the Wholesaler, none of it's really been cleaned up yet, so it's ready for a detail at whatever dealer ends up buying it. But basically what is right here is this Ecotech engine, 2 liters, from like the Chevy Cruze or something, 260 horsepower, turbocharged 4-cylinder. All it does is power the electric generator. It's not connected to the wheels directly. This is just one big gasoline generator for the electrical setup on the car. Again, it has 260 horse in this form. They stopped making it, so Fisker had to change from it to whatever drivetrain they're using in the BMW i8. It now has the 20 models have a BMW engine instead of this, and that's not because they really wanted to. It's because GM stopped building this engine. It has 403 total horsepower when you include electric and gas, the battery, and it runs 2 electric motors at the rear wheels with, the center stack, which you'd think was a drivetrain, drive shaft, is just sort of a conduit from the batteries and the power to the rear electric motors. You basically get close to 50-mile all-electric range, maybe a little bit less than that, 300-mile total range. This solar cell thing up on top adds virtually nothing. I mean, if it's sunny for like 5 days, you get an extra mile, and I think it's set up basically just to sort of boost the climate control. You've got a full-on sport mode, everything flying. You get a 5.40 to 60, which it really doesn't feel like. It's like 7 seconds just on electric, which is pathetic, again, for a car that looks like this. It just seems pathetic to me. And it'll run up to 125 mile an hour top speed, which, you know, is fine, except it's just, none of it is particularly impressive. You know, again, it's just like popping the hood on a DeLorean and seeing this Volvo Peugeot Renault V6 with anemic horsepower and wondering what the hell, you know, couldn't they find a nice tune port injection sourced from General Motors or something? So anyway, look, I'm not going to get into all the kilowatt hour shit that guy, and you know, even if I knew it a little bit, which I really don't, I'm going to get corrected by all the EV geeks out there, so I'm not going to bother. But what you have here is basically the hybrid setup with a fairly nice big gasoline motor, you know, for a hybrid that runs your electricity. So let me get that back down. Going to take another 2-minute break to get myself feeling normal again, and then we're just going to hop inside, go for a spin, and move on to the next one. And I'm going to call the people who have the New Yorker and try desperately to get it coming. So bear with me just one moment. All right, let's have a quick look inside. I do really, I mean, again, the styling of these things. Look at this crazy amount of space up at the top of the belt line there. It's just amazing. Your Canadians in the back seat are going to be miserable. There really is no other way around, unless they're just EV nuts and, you know, want to look like somebody. It's stylish, but as far as like leg room and comfort and seat room, and I mean, look at the width of this big. Oh my God, trying to get in. Look at the width of this ridiculous center console. We'll get into all this glass crap in a minute, but you've got your heated seats here. You've got, I mean, I'm not a big guy, and my knees are nailing the rear side of this thing. Because of the small size interior wise, this is classified as a subcompact. I mean, it is tiny in here, and it shows you that they did have to sacrifice a lot of interior room to make the design that they wanted. Oh my God. Oh God, you have to be Mary Lou Retton to get out of that thing. Let's have a look up front. So there's a lot of this foo-foo crap that appeals to the type of people that like this type of thing. I mean, you've got these really odd little glass encased. It's like you'd put a urine specimen in there, or if some sort of, you know, bug that you're studying. It's very, very strange, these little things, and you can sort of see the Danish modern effect on it. It's got push-button doors like a Corvette. I don't immediately see an emergency release down there, which I do believe it has to have, so it must be somewhere. You've got this sort of, you know, nicely stitched leather. One of the big complaints about these cars, apparently, the original Fiskers, was the fit and finish of the interior, which is not at all surprising, given it was a microscopic car company, you know, trying to build something to keep up with modern safety standards and mass production quality and that sort of thing. So they did the best they could, I suppose, but it wasn't that good. And apparently this Chinese company, who is now, you know, making Karma Reveros, decided that that was going to be the main thing they addressed. And the consensus is that they did. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not fantastic, but it's a lot better than it was. The seats are quite strange with the little two-tone brown design swooping over, but, you know, again, the trendy folks who like this kind of shit probably think it's neat, so all right, let's hop in, see what we got. got one of those easy entrance features that at least doesn't beep at me endlessly like the Mercedes, so I'll give it that much. It's welcoming me to the Karma. Thank you. Nice to be here, sort of. And we'll just start it up. I'm going to move forward and get out of the sun. Oh, God, the little goofy sounds it makes. And there you go. So you've got like an 11 or 12-inch, digital steering cluster in front of you. You've got this strange two-tone steering wheel with an odd-looking center. I don't know if the thing fell off of here or that's the way it's supposed to look, but it looks like something's missing. Like one of those BMW rondelles where the enamel shit pops out. Oh, God, there's music coming out. Turn that down for a minute. You've got this grippity 10-and-2 steering wheel with what appear to be flippity flips, but aren't. They're just controls because this has a single-speed transmission. You got multi-function buttons there. You got this nice treatment of stitched leather on top of the dash, which I admit looks pretty good. And apparently this is all reclaimed wood. I mean, all the stuff that makes me ill, somehow your $130,000 car, you're loving the environment. You're such a good person because it has reclaimed wood. It makes me want to vomit. This is obviously a door lock. This is your hazards. This thing freaked me right the hell. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I mean, I should have known it's a glove. I mean, I guess that must be the international symbol for glove box. But when I pressed it, I was not expecting the glove box to open. I think we're running. We're in stealth mode, which means it's electric. So if I want to start the engine, I think I can go to sustain. Doesn't immediately do it, but that's going to drive us around on gas and hold the electric charge for a while. Here, look at this weird glass thing. I mean, it almost looks like the flux capacitor from Back to the Future. There's no reason for it. I kept trying to open it. If it opens, I certainly can't find it. So what is the point? And occasionally these weird little things light up inside that do nothing other than maybe make you feel like you're in something modern. It's very strange. I don't like it, and it's odd. Ditto this Star Trek looking transmission control with the weird triangular crystal thing with the PDNR, and the window switches, they're normal. The tiny little cup holders, which don't do anything, so they're probably not going to break. You got a little center console here for coins. I can't imagine a modern person using coins, but I guess they do. And you get into the screen, you can get into your music, which is fine. I've hooked up my Bluetooth to it. Your favorite button, which has nothing on it. This is your telephone, which is all great. Your navigation, which is nice. I will say that. The contrasting stuff looks good, and you can pinch it with 2 fingers to move around. And, so if you want to take a look at the United States as a whole, it's not a problem. And everything looking fine there. You get back into, it takes a while to load. I will say this, man, and I've noticed that. I press a thing and it says loading for like 2 minutes. I feel like I'm using a 486DX computer sometimes. This gives you your drive mode. When we're driving, it's going to give you this weird flow of something. See, energy flow, which makes absolutely no sense. You get into settings and you can change all the, look, see how long it takes to load? Look at that loading. I'm expecting to see that little hourglass spinning, but you can change all your seat positions. You can change the setup of the different steering modes or sport modes or whatever. You've got to, you press it and nothing happens. Press that again. That'll work. I mean, what is... Oh, God. I don't know if it's a lag time or if it just doesn't like my fingertips or... What the hell with it. Anyway, look, you get into service check. We can... Loading. I don't want to look at the service check. Go over to messages. I don't know what messages we're going to have. This apparently has this, the technology, and this is based on the BlackBerry, and it does remind me of my old BlackBerry in the way that it takes forever. So anyway, there it is. I'm going to leave this on this mode so you can see this weird shit flowing as we drive. We need some climate going. It's hot as balls in here. There we go. Turn the fan to 3 or 4. That'll be fine. Get that AC down. All right, let's go back. Go into home. And yeah, we're going to leave it in that drive mode. Okay, so there it is. Now we get up to the instrument cluster. So if I click this side, you can see I'm in sustain. And that again is going to run the motor, which you can barely hear, which they have done great things with the soundproofing in this. If you like that sort of thing, you can run that over to sport, which will apparently make it sporty. That gives you gas and electric. You've got all your 400 horsepower doing what feels like nothing. Changes the steering wheel. And then stealth, which will run it on all electric, you know, if you want to go through a neighborhood cruising for whatever. And over on this side, you can have different limits when you're driving. So let's go to stealth, and when we get into drive, that should pop up. Yeah, there it is. So you see we're in regen 2. I don't know if you can see it. It looks all just a blur here, but I don't know if it's working. There's regen 3 and regen 1, and all that's basically doing, you know, apparently the EV geeks like one pedal driving, so when they let their foot off the gas, it instantly goes into a hard recharge, you know, using the wheel motion as a generator to put electricity back in the battery, and the car will basically come to a stop. In regen 1, the car just drives like a normal car. You let off the gas, it coasts a bit. 2, it stops itself a little more, and 3 is a lot like the way Teslas operate, where you let off the gas and it just kind of puts you through the windshield, and you know, almost feels like the brakes are being applied. Down here, if I press this, I can change my display a little bit. We're loading to know that I'm in Naples. That's great. I already knew that. Then you can get into this where you get your nav screen in the middle and your mouse off to the side, and I think that's just what we're going to go with. And we're going to start in stealth. I should have moved up to get Peter's gate moving. It takes forever. Okay, so right now we're in full electric mode, and I've used most of the charge. We have 25 miles left where it's going to operate in full electric mode. And you're really basically down on power that way. They're talking like a 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. You get it, by the way, you get up here, you find, you get a busted sun visor on that side. You've got one of these modern mirrors that doesn't have a frame. You got another lovely quality control thing going on over there. God. And apparently this makes weird noises outside when you're under 25 miles an hour to let pedestrians know before you run them over. All right, so here we're all electric right now. The car is very quiet. I mean, that they accomplished if that was their mission. I mean, I want to hear a V8 scream of rage right now, and instead I just hear nothing. Somehow they've even made these 22-inch tires, which are mostly worn out, feel quiet, and I don't know how the hell they did that, because these, you know, sort of rolling steamroller things always sound loud, especially when they get a bit old. But in this car, I have to say that road noise is really, really at an absolute minimum. Now, if I click this and go over to sustain, that's going to kick on the gas motor, which is, again, very well insulated because you just can't hear it at all. I mean, there was really no discernible change in noise inside the cabin. They've also done a good job of sealing the cabin. You don't get wind noise too much. And, you know, it just sort of is a very, very quiet car going down the street, which is fine if that's the sort of thing. It's an interesting old Lexus coupe. If that's the sort of thing you like. There's someone walking their dog. I don't know if that's that weird woman in the hat. I don't see a hat. Pretty big dog, though, and it looks pissed off. All right, so look, when I let off the gas, boom, all of a sudden it starts slowing me down. I haven't touched the brake pedal yet, and I'm almost coming to a stop. So that's part of the regeneration plan. Here's the first thing I noticed when I got in this car. The Vista out the windshield looks exactly like a C7. And I mean exactly. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I'd think I was in a C7. So it seems that somehow the styling relied a little bit on the way of modern Corvettes, which of course look a little bit like Ferraris. Now I see red and blue up there, so I'm going to take it easy. Which isn't really a problem in this car, particularly if I go over into stealth mode and make it electric. I think I could race that cop from the red light, and he honestly wouldn't have any idea. Poor guy. He probably thought the radar signal he was getting was from that electronic sign back there, not the sheriff. That could so easily be me. Anyway, coming up to a red light, doing our regeneration thing. And look, here it is. This is the part that just disappoints me, because I'm in this hot-looking exotic car. It looks as exotic as any other car on the road. I mean, you know, I don't care what Lamborghini Huracan or, you know, whatever it is you drive, it really doesn't look any more exotic or wild than this thing does. And because it's so rare, people don't see a lot of them, so they really turn and look. They check this thing out. And if you're the kind of guy or gal who digs that, you know, one of the celebrity, Barbara Streisand or whoever the hell buys these things, then that's going to be a good thing. Me not liking attention, I'll just say I'm very happy it has dark tinted windows, because I just don't want to be the kind of cat who gets seen by people as though I care, which I don't. Very little I do care about. Traffic, everybody going slow, and it doesn't really matter anyway, because, you know, you do get some torque because of the electric stuff, which is nice. You know, the throttle response is pretty good, but that's just the nature of an electric motor. You know, they would have had to actually engineer really hard and try hard to make it not, you know, feel a little bit torquey when you're cutting through traffic. I feel like an electric car, oh, that electric car is so fast. Well, of course it is, because electric motors are on or off at full speed with massive torque. It would be hard to make them not fast. I just find it to be absolute cheating. So look, anyway, get past all these lunatics here. There's going to be do a jerk merge up there. All I can tell you is that the driving is, you know, it's fine. When you put the steering wheel in sport mode, it becomes too heavy. It's not very nice. The electric steering in this mode look at this ridiculous thing, feels a bit better. It tracks down the road pretty good. You know, for a car, again, that's microscopically built, they're just tiny, tiny production numbers. It has to be said that they've done a pretty great job of making it feel like it has a pretty high build quality. And look at this guy. This is great. Yeah, I just need to get in. I didn't jerk merge. I got caught flat-footed. Well, that's what I'm doing, too. I'm basically a BMW driver. So look, I'm not going to ramble on. I wanted to get up here so I could do a little bit of a hammer and let me get it into sport mode. Otherwise, I wouldn't have kept babbling on this long. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can give this 530 a race for his money. Everybody's always in the way. Anyway, so look, there it is. I mean, that was balls to the wall, and it just wasn't that impressive. And to me, that's the overall theme of this car. You look at it, it's kind of gorgeous if it's your style, and you get in it, and you're just not impressed at the end of the day. You're probably going to go buy a Panamera hybrid or a Taycan or a, you know, Tesla Model S or something that, frankly, just delivers more for the money you have to pay. This thing is just a pure poser machine in almost every way. So there it is. I can't wait to get the New Yorker. I don't know if I'm going to get it done by the end of the week, but I'm going to try. If not, it'll be early next Monday. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to put up a little tiny snippet from the Camaro project that's going. I'm resuscitating an old IROC. That's a lot more fun to me than what I'm doing now. And we're just going to keep plugging along. So thank you for having a look. Really appreciate it. And we will see you with the next one. Take care.